What's your favorite thing about Gene?
Well, that's an interesting question.
I'm Allison Hagendorf. America, this is the next. Hello, Times Square. Hello, Madison Square Garden. Welcome to X Games Aspen. I'm Allison Hagendorf. I'm the live announcer of the B&E. Welcome to Rock This with Allison Hagendorf.
Yeah, this is Allison Hagendorf.
Hello, my fellow music lovers, and welcome to the Allison Hagendorf Show. Hello, my fellow music lovers, and welcome to the Allison Hagendorf Show. This is where we celebrate the universal love of music and the rock and roll spirit that lives in each of us. I am so glad you're here. We are coming to you from DWP Studios in Los Angeles, and I want to give a shout out to our presenting sponsor, Cloudwater, and our friends at Karma Sauce. These are quality products I love, and they help make this show possible along with you. Your support means the world to me. Thank you. My guest today is one of the most beloved and recognizable frontmen in rock and roll history. The legendary Paul Stanley of Kiss, the star child himself, is here today. Now, this is extremely meaningful for me because I had the honor of hosting the last date of the End of the Road tour, the final Kiss show of all time at Madison Square Garden. It was a life highlight. I had the opportunity to sit with Paul in his last interview with Kiss, and I also caught him as he was coming off the stage for the last time. It was an absolute dream. And now, symbolically, we are going to be catching up for his first interview post-Kiss. We will find out what is on the horizon for Kiss and what Paul Stanley has been up to. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. One thing about me is that I work hard and play hard, and this functionally fun box from Cloudwater helps me do that. These are my people. Listen to what it says inside. The world would be a better place if fun people lived forever. Yes, I subscribe to this. I feel seen. Inside, we have organic caffeine, we have daily defense, immunity, and CBD, which I imbibe every single afternoon. I think you'll enjoy this. Go to cloudwaterbrands.com, use my code Allison30 for 30% off, and let me know what you think. Cheers. My guest today needs no introduction, but I will give one anyway. He is the co-founder and frontman of Kiss, who have released 44 albums, sold more than 100 million albums worldwide, are America's #1 gold record award-winning group, and are the most merchandisable band of all time. He is a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, a New York Times best-selling author, a former Broadway star, an accomplished painter, and a family man. Paul Stanley, welcome to the show.
Wow. Just keep going.
Actually, there were so many more accolades, but I was like, I want to get to Paul, so I should probably stop talking.
Well, thanks. It's just nice to be here with you.
I am so grateful that you are here, and it is very symbolic that we are here together because I had the great honor of being there with you and Kiss for the final show at the Garden, and I was actually wearing this outfit, so I decided to bring it out again.
I do remember it.
So special to be here with you again. I mean, now that some months have passed, since that night, what did that night feel like for you? Was it out of body, or were you very in the moment? Like, what did it feel like?
The whole tour was so wonderful because we really got to spend a night with everybody where everyone knew this was it. And I think it was important for us to kind of justify the last 50 years, if we needed to, by doing really the ultimate Kiss show. But the Garden, I have to say, I just got to chill.
Oh.
The love that the audience had for us, it really was beautiful. And we gave it our all, and it was really, really special. There won't be, We're Back tour. Mm-hmm. It's the end of that incarnation and the band playing live, but it was an incredible way to end things. I tell that story about when I was a cab driver,
yes,
driving people one night to Madison Square Garden. I think it was 1971, to see Elvis Presley. And I was thinking to myself, one of these days, and just by coincidence, right outside my dressing room at the Garden was a picture of Elvis in 1971 at the Garden.
God.
So things have a way of going full circle.
And you said it to your passengers, didn't you? Didn't you say
Yes.
it out loud? You're like, I'm
Yeah.
actually going to be here.
Yeah, and they were probably thinking, what an idiot.
But you
know.
manifested it. You made it happen.
You
Like,
know, if you follow your passions and expect nothing, then everything's a gift. So, you know, if you aspire to certain things, that's alone is enough. But when you succeed, wow.
wow. Now, of course, the reveal that night, that was the next era will be, you know, the avatars. What can fans expect from the next era?
Not what you saw, because, you know, it was a double-edged sword, because we were showing people the avatars in their infancy, and they look and will look nothing like that. They will be mind-bogglingly realistic.
It was more of a sneak peek.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that there's good to that and bad. People will look and go, well, that doesn't look anything like them. But what will be is incredible. The state of the art and what technology can do nowadays is incredible. There's a show that's running outside London that's sold out for 3 years, and it's an ABBA show.
Yes.
And Pop House, the people behind that, are the people who are working with us. And that show is just incredible. And yet that technology is now old.
Right.
So George Lucas is involved with the avatars, and the people involved with it are really incredible. And the idea is not to do a Kiss concert. The idea of, whoa, that looks like a real amplifier. That's this kind of thinking. We want to create something that's a go-to and a must-see for everybody. Kiss fans will love it, but other people who could care less about Kiss will want to see it. It's going to be mind-boggling. You know, it's Kiss and Cirque du Soleil and everything you can imagine on steroids, but it will really cross that bridge of what's real and what's not.
Wow.
And combine the two. Does that sound
Yes.
interesting?
It'll be a unique experience, and I expect nothing less.
It will
right?
be incredible. You know, the idea that we're going to simulate a live show, leave that to somebody else, and we have no desire to do that. We want to create Kiss, which is something that breaks the rules, not lives within them.
Of course not. Now, you mentioned Pop House. I'm sure that you and Gene will still be involved
Totally.
in all endeavors moving forward. What role will you guys play?
They're great people, the Pop House people, and the last thing they would want is us gone. We've been there for 50 years, and it's been pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So they want us to be a part of it, and you know, the idea of selling our publishing or anything like that, that wasn't really appealing to us. Kiss, once again, really has a vision that goes so beyond the norm that we wanted to find people who were like-minded with us and wanted to see Kiss continue on a different scale, on a different level, rather than the band stopping or fading away. We wanted to have a new incarnation.
Absolutely. Have you and Gene been in touch? Like, how often do you guys communicate?
We text almost every day.
Oh,
and
you do?
We check in with each other, and you know, how's the family, and you know, it's great. It really is family. I consider his kids like my kids, and watching what they do is really incredible. And she's like my sister-in-law.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you know, what you guys shared and continue to share is so unique to the two of you. You've been basically like married for 15 years. What do you think it is about your dynamic that endures?
I think prioritizing. The band has always been, certainly for me, the band has always been the most important thing. So, look, I'm not always a picnic to be around, and he's had to put up with me at times. And But the thing that's always been our priority is Kiss. And I think that over the years, with whatever issues we've had with each other, that was never something that was going to be ultimately compromised. And look, family members fight, but they're family.
Right.
And Gene and I have never been closer than we are now, because I've said it before, it's like we have nothing to bicker about. We won.
Yeah, you did. And you continue to do so.
That's the plan.
Amazing. What's your favorite thing about Gene?
Well, that's an interesting question. Gene will always admit when he's wrong. And that takes somebody big.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he's like that with everybody else, but we have a relationship that's so close that I think both of us will say, I screwed up. Or certainly I've told him something that went against what his line of thinking was, and he goes, you know, you're right. So that takes a big person. And again, I think that there's no substitute for time. And I was telling one of my kids that you can have your best friend who you met a month ago, but to find out if they're really your best friend is going to take months, years, you know, going
hard
through
times.
Hard times, good times, bad times. How somebody responds to all those kind of crises and everything determines whether that person is in your life or not. And, you know, push come to shove, Gene's always been there. And likewise, I mean, I can't think of anything that I wouldn't do for him, and I can trust him to do the same.
Oh, it's that respect, that love, that's very, very special.
Oh, that amount of years.
Yes.
You know, says volumes.
Yeah. If you could go back the 50 years, is there anything you would say to yourself? Any advice?
Be nice to be kind to yourself. You know, I think it's important to want to better yourself and be more than you are. But, you know, if you're not in your own corner, you know, cut yourself some slack.
Yes.
You know, I think there were times I was very tough on myself and probably tough on people around me. And one thing you learn, hopefully, with age is don't sweat the small stuff. And, you know, things have a tendency to work out. And a lot of things that are issues when you're younger, you see later on really didn't matter that much in the scheme of things. So be tough on yourself, but also be kind.
Give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I'm wondering about the update of this biopic that's coming out on Netflix. Where do we stand on that?
We're on a precipice.
It's
That's a
shouted
good
out
word.
loud, right?
Working title.
Okay.
But we could have made a movie years ago. We could have done a Broadway show years ago.
Right.
But I believe you get one chance to do something and do it right or don't do it. We don't need it, but it's more than in the works, and it will see
That's exciting.
the light of day.
Who would you want to cast for you? I mean, this is hard.
That's great. Truthfully, the people who they're going to cast, and casting is pretty imminent, they're a generation I'm not really aware of. So, you know, if somebody says, oh, you know, Robert Downey's too old, you know, as brilliant as he is, but just as an example, the people who are going to be in this movie are, quite honestly, of a generation that I'm not all that aware of.
Right.
So,
will you be involved at all in the casting?
I'll certainly give my two cents, but
yeah.
Sometimes you can be too close to something.
That's true.
And I think the best way to succeed at something is know your limitations. Surround yourself with a lot of good people, and everybody gives you thumbs up, but it's all about teamwork.
Yeah. Oh, you're the best, Paul. Now, what about, wasn't there a documentary being made Because I remember when we were together in New York, there were lots of cameras, things were being filmed.
Yeah, that's kind of the last tour
Okay.
and all that. And we've got our hands full. There's just so much going on. So I don't know when that sees the light of day or how, but it was important for us to document it. I mean, that tour was really, really something so special.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie in the band and that magic with the audience, it was all, it was, look, I could be playing the Ramada Inn, but I'm not. And the band has had an incredible run, and we owe it to the standard we set for ourselves and to the fans who deserved it.
All I know is I can picture this image of you, which I'll never forget from the final show at the Garden. I believe it was Love Gun. And you start, it's one of my favorite Kiss songs. And you're like zip line across the entire Madison Square Garden to stage B. And I'm like, then you land, you start singing and playing. I'm like, rock star. Paul Stanley, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that moment, I just will forever think of you in that second.
Yeah, it's, I mean, the beauty of Kiss has always been coming up with ideas of what we would like to see and then implementing them. Part of the success of the band has always been that we're fans of the band. What would we like to see Kiss do?
Cool.
Hell, I'd like to see Paul like fly out into the audience. Well, let's do it.
Let's do it.
And again, back to the Kiss show, the avatars, I'll call it that for the moment. It's the same thing. What would we like to see? And now with technology, it's virtually limitless. We can make everything happen. If we can imagine it, we can make it.
And Kiss will bring it to the next level.
Totally.
Because you guys are probably inventing something right now.
Totally.
Yeah.
And again, technology today is different than yesterday. It's just moving at lightning speed.
And you really wow me because outside of Kiss, you have so many talents and passions, and just you're an accomplished painter. And I've been following your art and the shows that you've been doing. Where did this passion for paint as a medium come about?
I tend to think I define myself by the challenges I take on and by the things that I explore. Maybe that's part of my upbringing, going to museums of natural history, going to fine art museums. There's so much out there in the world to be a part of, and how it influences me and makes me want to try something. I'm just not a person who says why. I say why not.
That's incredible. Yeah. I love your style, the abstract expressionism. It is so cool. It really speaks to me. I love your series. I love your Love One, Peace One, and your portraits. Really so cool, Paul.
Well, it's interesting because, look, if credibility comes from being a starving artist, I'll never have credibility because I think at last count, we'd done $27 million in art.
That's unbelievable.
Which is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
But once again, it's about people embracing something, and if I love something, somebody else is going to love it because we're all so similar. Yeah. And all I try to do is let people know that their opinions and what they love is valid because it moves them. The idea that you need a critic to tell you what good art is or what good food is. Good food you swallow, bad food you spit out. And art is no different. If someone else thinks something is great and you don't, your opinion is the only one that matters because what moves you and what you want to take home is totally valid. And the person who tries to impose or intimidate you into believing you need them is getting a salary for that.
Right.
So, I'm not here to knock down doors, but when I'm opening them, I don't mind going like this. Come on in.
Yeah. It's, at the end of the day, it's how it makes you feel.
Yeah,
Right? That's
totally.
how it is.
Totally. What good is something if it moves you and doesn't move me? Well, God bless you, but does
Right.
nothing for me.
Yeah.
So art, music, theater, it's all the same. It's about what moves you, what makes you reflect on something, or what you connect with emotionally.
Yeah. And graphic design and art has always been part of you. You helped create the KISS logo.
I perfected it.
perfected
Ace did the basic design of it, and the one that you see on everything is literally the one I did with a ruler. And if you look at the two S's, you'll see they're not quite parallel to each other because I did it by eye. And when we got a deal,
Wow.
they said, "Do you want us to redraft it?" And I went, "Well, it got us this far."
Oh my
Well,
God.
it's 50 years later and still seems to be working.
And then you did mention theater, so we have to talk about it because I really wasn't fully aware of this, that you played the Phantom in the Phantom of the Opera
Yeah.
in Toronto's Broadway production.
Yeah. It's Phantom is this literally billion-dollar franchise, and you can't go into the show without being approved and signed off in New York by Hal Prince's organization. Was who I had to audition for, and it was just so interesting because in 1988 I was in London and in the West End, and I saw Phantom, and I had this epiphany, which is not unlike what I had with the Beatles. When I first saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, I couldn't play an instrument. I was this little chubby kid with a deformed ear and deaf on one side, and I saw the Beatles and I went, I can do that. And it didn't mean I can be the Beatles, but somehow something inside me said, I can touch that nerve.
Yeah.
And much like that, when I saw Phantom, there was a scene in it, and I just went, I know what's going on there. And over the years, I saw it quite a few times. And then about 10 years later, CAA, my agent, called me and said, well, here's a weird one. Do you have any interest in theater? I went, yeah, I grew up, exposed to theater. And I said, what is it? And he said, well, you'd have to audition. I said, well, what is it? And he said, it's Phantom of the Opera. I said, book the ticket.
It was meant to be.
And I went to New York, did a full audition, had to do what we call in theater blocking, where you are for different parts of a song, if you're singing, and did a full audition, and they went, you, like on Idol now, you're going to Toronto. Here's your golden ticket. So I went up there and did 8 shows a week.
It's amazing.
And it was fantastic. And I was supposed to be the next to the last Phantom. It ran for 10 years. And box office and the response was so great that they bought the next guy out and kept me there. So it was wonderful.
That's incredible.
Hard work, but again, discovering so much about myself. And I got involved with an organization that dealt with children with facial differences. Through
About face.
Yes,
Yes.
through Phantom. Somebody, the head of it sent me a letter to my dressing room, and I would read my mail on the days when I had 2 shows. And she was saying, you somehow seem to connect with the role and the character. And I went, well, and that was really the first time I said to people, I have a birth defect.
Right.
I can't hear, but also at that point, I had 5 surgeries to create an ear using rib cartilage. And I always kept that really secret. And over my life, what I've found is that the less secrets you have, the more free you are. And once I told her that, I went and met with kids to talk with them. And then I met with parents, because parents mean well, but they don't necessarily know how to deal with what their kids are going through. So once again, you don't know what to expect in life, but if you're open to things, the next chapter can be really exciting if you just get through the one you're in.
Wow. Now the condition is called Microtia?
Microtia.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned the Beatles earlier. I fortunately had Ringo Starr on the show recently,
Yes.
which was mind-blowing. But he shared how, he was really ill as a young boy, and he had appendicitis, and then he had tuberculosis, and he was hospitalized for 2 years. It was in the hospital that he learned percussion and found that he had this passion for drumming. So it was a silver lining to a hardship. What sort of path did your condition put you on? Because I'm sure you faced bullying or difficulties.
Yeah, I mean, having something that makes you different is very, very hard on a child. Certainly, being different by choice means that you're empowered. So if you decide to dress in whatever you do and people stare, that was your choice. But when you're born with a condition, it's relentless. I mean, you don't get any kind of respite. You don't get any chance to get away from it. So, yeah, it's difficult, but it's also probably part of the reason I'm who I am.
Yeah.
We learn much more from tough times and failure than we do from the good times and successes.
You have such a resilience and a drive. Is that something that was innate in you as a young boy, or is it something you developed over time?
I really don't know. I will never be a victim. We always have two choices. We can either blame a situation or blame others and then compromise our lives, or you roll up your sleeves and get to work. And my life has been about get to work and, no bullshit.
Yeah. And speaking of get to work, I admire you in your athleticism. I mean, you posted recently about the 27 Club. You're like, well, I'm the 26 Club. I just biked 26 miles. No big deal.
Yeah, I just do that. I try to do that twice a week, and it's not always possible because I paint pretty much 5 days a week. From here, I'll go paint. But riding is my time. It's my solitude and my solitary time. 26 miles is nothing. I mean, it's just a time to zone out, listen to music, and be one with nature.
Absolutely. It's a moving meditation, really.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It's not something I do with anyone else. It's really my time to just kind of absorb what's going on around and also think about things that are going on.
You stay in such great shape. Do you think it's just from being mindful and being active? And
I'm not a gym freak. I'm not one of those people who really is fanatical.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I have good genes. It seems.
Yeah.
My dad made it to 101 and would have gone much further if we could have cut off his head and put it on a new body, because his mind was always there. So, yeah, I mean, genetics, but you have to work. You have to work at what you look like, and whether it's vanity or self-preservation.
Right.
It's a good thing. You when you look good, you tend to feel good, and vice versa.
You're also making your heart feel good, you know?
Yeah,
it's important.
You want to look in the mirror and go, not bad.
Yeah, I like what I say.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah. What about music? What about Soul Station or solo stuff? Is that something that you might revisit?
Sure, absolutely. But I needed a break.
Yeah.
I really needed a break, and literally from December 2nd until a couple of weeks ago, I never picked up a guitar.
I bet. Yeah.
And I tried to figure out why there's a guitar near my bed and why aren't I picking it up? And I think the reason I wasn't picking it up was I was scared that if I picked it up and played, I would miss what we let go of. But look, life is about moving forward. You take your memories and you take all the good times and everything, and you move on. So I just needed I needed a breather.
I totally understand. At some point, you did have to have vocal surgery, right? Because years of preaching rock and roll that will do that to you. You know, Bon Jovi has been like documenting, John Bon Jovi has been documenting how he recently had surgery. Do you have any insight on that or any advice for him just going through that?
I feel for John. And look, a certain type of singing is athleticism.
Yes.
And no athlete is what they were 50 years ago or 40 years ago or 30 years ago. And there are very, very few singers around who, you know, come close to what they once did. And I'll raise my hand, you know. I hear things that I did live 30, 40 years ago, and I know how to do them here, but I can't do them here. You know, Robert Plant didn't change his style of singing just because he found, you know, a different outlet. You find different outlets because you have to move on from where you are. So, you know, outside of, you know, a Bruce Dickinson, how many people, you know, I tip my hat, but how many people can do what they once did? Michael Jordan can't.
Right.
You know, nobody
Nobody
can.
can.
So when people would say, "Oh, you know, you don't sound like you did on Kiss Alive," I go, "Well, if you want to hear that, go
Listen to it.
Put on Kiss
Yeah.
Alive." Yeah, you know.
It's just ridiculous.
And you don't look like you once did.
I think people think that you're superhuman because you sort of are, but people, at the end of the day, we're just humans. We're all the same. We age, and it's a gift.
But you become almost like a commodity. And interestingly, the people who love you can suddenly spurn you, and I want to remember them the way they were. Well, then don't listen,
Right.
you know, or don't go. But the people who made you happy have a right to continue doing what makes them happy.
Of course.
You know, and that's their right, and your right is to not go. But the passion that you have, you know, you don't want to be told, stop. Well, that's absurd. You know, no, I'm not going to stop. You can stop watching. You can stop listening. So there are certainly people on tour that aren't what they once were. And that's okay. If it disappoints you, don't go.
Right. Absolutely. You have shared with me that there are certain people that need the stage. They need that high. And although, of course, you love performing, that's not your core is really your family, which is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
How would you describe your relationship with Erin and your kids?
I think being a good parent means striving to either emulate what you saw at home or avoid it. You know, I like to say I'm who I am because of my parents and in spite of my parents.
Right.
So it's a work in progress, and it's also a healing for someone. To bring up kids allows you to put your children in positions that maybe you weren't or that you didn't get to experience positively.
Yeah.
So you heal through your kids. So it's inspiring. It's great. And you know, Erin and I have been together, I don't know, I think 22 years. And you know, she's terrific. You know, I know that in some aspects she's smarter than I am, and that's a great thing. It's a good reflection on me. So she's terrific, and she's a great mom, and I do my part, but also know to step back.
That's wonderful. I love that Evan was on tour with you with Amber Wild. That must have been very symbolic for you, especially at the final Garden show, you know, seeing Evan performing. Did this bring you guys closer together?
We couldn't be any closer.
Aww.
You know, I speak to Evan pretty much every day. You people talk about nepotism. I don't think there's anything wrong with nepotism if you earned your position. Colin, my 17-year-old, said to me, Evan's going to open shows? And I said, I will do everything for you once you show me you do everything for yourself. So I'll help you in every way possible, but first you have to show me that you'll do everything, that's possible.
You deserve the opportunity.
Yeah. And when Doc and Gene and I heard Amber Wild, we went, well, they're as good as bands that are out there, so why not give them the opportunity? And frankly, when I went to see them rehearsing, I went, you know what, guys, this isn't good enough. This isn't, if you want polite applause, you're going to get that. But if you want to blow people away, you're not there yet, And they worked their butts off between the time that we spoke and when they hit the stage again. And, and Evan's just a ridiculously good guitar player.
He is so talented.
I mean, he's so good. And I remember when he was about 16, somebody said to me, were you that good at his age? And I go, I'm not that good now.
Oh, that's amazing. You're absolutely right. He's a rock star. He
Yeah,
really is. He's so talented. He's got the drive. He's got the work ethic.
And ultimately, it's up to him. Can I open a door? Sure. People can slam the door afterwards. And being the child of somebody famous works both ways.
Right.
People initially may dislike you because you have opportunities or because you may see yourself as entitled. My kids don't have any sense of entitlement because they're not entitled to anything. Anything they get, they have to work for.
That's great parenting. That's great parenting. What do you hope that your kids learn from you?
That you lead by your actions. You don't lead by what you say. Kids will hear you talk, but they're going to watch what you do. And you have to back up whatever you tell them. And hopefully they'll see that I followed a path that I was told was, if not impossible, improbable. But you have to believe in yourself. And I certainly put myself in a position that I wouldn't recommend to anybody else. I had no alternative but to become successful. That's a really frightening place to put yourself. It means that 24/7 you're trying to figure out how to make it because you don't have an alternative. So I don't think that that's something that I would suggest for other people, but it certainly put me in a position where I couldn't fail.
Right.
So, anything you do, you have to, wanting to be a rock star, well, that's great. Now, what are you going to do to become a rock star? Where's your sacrifices?
Yeah. What do you think is the greatest risk that you've ever taken?
Well, I would say the biggest risk I've taken was pursuing what I pursued. Yeah. Hey, not only am I out of my mind for pursuing becoming a rock star, why don't we wear white makeup, tights, and 8-inch heels? Okay? You want to stack the deck against you? Let me show you how.
If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. Yeah, I love that.
Okay. Yeah. So while acoustic and folky music and John Denver is big, what do you say you get Marshall amplifiers and white makeup and red lipstick and prance around the stage? So,
yeah.
But again, it's about believing in yourself. And I think that the most important thing I want my kids, and I think people should follow, is find your passion and follow that. You'll be a lot happier than compromising and following that. You'll never know if you would have succeeded unless you go the route.
Absolutely.
So I think it's all about, passion. And sometimes somebody comes over to me and says, I'm thinking about becoming a musician. I go, don't. If you think about it, you're not the person who should. You do things because you're compelled.
It's a calling.
Totally. You do things.
There's no plan B.
No. And if plan B is not a bad thing, but you do something because you have no choice. You may want to have a backup plan, but becoming a musician or whatever you choose to do, becoming a construction worker, a doctor, whatever, you do because you're compelled to do it, you know. And then you're not going to listen to advice anyway, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, do what you must.
Do what you must. Looking back, what makes you the most proud of your journey?
My kids,
Oh.
you know, my family. At the end of the day, you know, and at the end of your life, that's what will still be with you, hopefully, unless you're such a jerk that they abandon you. So, look, my success is incredible, and I couldn't be more grateful for it. And the acceptance by people, whether it's music or art or theater, whatever I've done, is incredible. And I'm beyond grateful. You know, it's given me the opportunity to have the life I have. But what came with that is family and children. And the interesting thing about having family and children is before I saw myself as the center of the world.
Yeah.
And without hesitation, you give it over to these others. So it's a real mind shift, you know. So that's ultimately, that's how we live on.
Yeah.
You know, I used to, before I had kids, I remember thinking, what are we here for? We pop up on the earth and then we die. And when I had kids, I suddenly went, wait a minute, we live because we live on in them.
Yeah.
So my dad, who's not here anymore, he's here.
Right.
I miss seeing him, but he lives on in me. So my comfort isn't necessarily from religion. My comfort is from knowing that I'm leaving behind good people and that I live on in them and they'll always have me.
Oh, and that's your legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. Paul, you continue to make this world a better place by every day.
Oh.
I'm serious. I mean, if you just had done Kiss, like that would have been enough. But because you are such a beautiful inspiration as a human, you know, as a man, as a father and a husband, like that's really what resonates with me. And that's why I love just watching everything you're doing, whether it's fitness or painting or just being a family man. You know, there's really nothing better. I really look up to you on so many levels and just really grateful for you.
Oh, that's so nice of you.
I'm serious.
Oh,
thank
lovely.
you. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you so much.
That was so unbelievably special for so many reasons. One, to have been his first interview since the Kiss show, having him sign my golden ticket. What a beautiful person, you know, to have accomplished as much as he has, but then in addition to that, being just such a grounded, inspirational person, I think is what really resonates the most with me. Just so grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much for being part of the Allison Hagendorf Show presented by Cloudwater. A huge thank you to our other partners as well, Danny Wimmer Presents and Karma Sauce. Thank you to Road to Ruin Apparel for my custom Kiss dress, along with our friends at Arctic Zone. And most importantly, thank you. I would love to hear from you. So please like, comment, rate, review, whatever you're feeling, and reach out to me on socials at Allie Hagendorf. I'd love to connect with you. Let me know who I should interview next and what made you smile today. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. And remember, you're a rock star.